Hello, welcome to the Ward D Runoff Debate. I'm Pat O'Melia. We're doing this live here on YouTube and Facebook. We have both candidates in the runoff here. Jake Efros, I'm pronouncing your last name right?
Efros.
Yep. He's running as, I guess, independent in Ward D. And Catherine Healy, you're running on the McGreevy ticket in Ward D. You're also, I guess we would call you a Nepo baby, right? You're the daughter of my buddy Jeremiah Healy. And more importantly, the granddaughter of Catherine Healy, great woman.
Yep, thank you.
Great woman. Ran the smallest bar in North Bergen. Had like 8 stools. She was a tremendous woman.
Thank you.
You're going to have opening statements. You'll get to ask each other a couple of questions. I'm a Ward D guy for the last 38 years, so hopefully I got good questions here for you. But let's start with Catherine. Why don't you give your opening statement and we'll get this debate going.
Sure. Thank you, Pat, for hosting us. My name's Catherine Healy. I'm named after my Irish immigrant grandmother who came to this country. Her husband was murdered and she had to raise her 5 children on her own right here in Hudson County. In Jersey City Heights for 44 years. I'm an attorney. I do family law, labor law. My background is criminal litigation. I have 3 children. I coach Little League in Washington Park for the last 10 years, and I run a nonprofit to send Jersey City girls to St. Dominic's Academy High School. Running for Ward D Council here in the Heights because my property taxes tripled, my streets are filthy, my Mosquito Park / Leonard Gordon Park was locked up for 2 years. When those renovations were finally revealed, the city had eliminated our children's sledding hill by replacing the grass with concrete and by installing these large lampposts at the bottom of the sledding hill. So now it's very risky for our children to go sledding. That among our schools can do better. We have to bring phonics back into our public schools. We have to help our small businesses out. Our roads are a mess. My girlfriend just broke her ankle in a pothole. People are concerned about cars and bikes. How about our pedestrians? You can't cross the street without breaking an ankle. That's how bad our roads are. So I'm getting involved to really fix everything. We need a better police response time. We need a better permits department. It takes way too long to get a permit unless you're politically connected or you're a donor. Then you get your permit in 6 weeks. But the regular residents, we get nothing. It takes a year to get a permit in Jersey City.
Permit for what?
For building,
okay.
For adding a bathroom, for adding a roof.
Parking permits aren't that easy to get either. But
that's everything. So we need a major overhaul of everything in Jersey City.
Jake?
Yep. Thank you for having us on again. My name is Jake Efros. I am the independent people-powered candidate here in Ward D for Jersey City Council to represent the Heights, Slopes, and part of downtown. And really since day one, our campaign has been clear that working class people deserve more in our city. I'm a teacher at St. Peter's University and Hudson County Community College. I'm a tenant on Sherman Avenue, been a union organizer, and we're running a platform to tackle the cost of living crisis and the affordability crisis and to win the quality of life that we deserve. So that looks like universal rent control and housing as a human right, looks like universal childcare and fully funded public schools, and safe, clean, green streets with great mass transit that works for all of us. Now, none of that is going to get won overnight. Nothing that we deserve here in Jersey City can just get won overnight with a magic wand, but it's going to take an independent, people-powered movement to be able to win all of these things. And I am going to fight like hell to win those things because I've been fighting for all of those things since long before I was a candidate. I've been part of the movement to address ICE in our community, to stand up against and shut down the ICE jail in Hudson County. I was helping lead the Tenants' Right to Counsel campaign here in Jersey City. And as a labor organizer, I was fighting alongside nurses and nursing home workers against some of the biggest bosses in the state of New Jersey so that workers could win more of what they deserve on the job. And again, this campaign is all about having working class people winning more of what we deserve. And being part of these movements allows me to be independent. Independent for me has always meant independent from corporate money, independent from establishment Democratic Party machine telling me what to do, and independent from being under the thumb of a mayor at the top of the ticket. Now, that being said, in this runoff period of the election, I'm supporting James Solomon for mayor, and he's supporting me as a Ward D council candidate because we both recognize that together we can fight to win some more affordability for our community and our city that's desperately needed. And we recognize that the Team McGreevy ticket, which my opponent is on, is very dangerous and a threat to actually winning more of what we deserve because of the donors, really, that are coming in to this team's campaign chest, campaign war chest. These donors are donors like Charles Kushner, Katzmatitis, and the Team McGreevy ticket is going to have to be responsive to those donors. Donors like conservative Republican PACs from across New Jersey, they're going to have to be responsive and accountable to those donors. Donors like executives of construction companies being investigated for wage theft right here in Jersey City, they're going to have to be responsive to those donors, which means they can't be responsive and accountable to us. So our campaign is all about focusing on us, what we need, and putting working class people in power. So Jersey City, let's make it ours, not just for the big billionaire corporations, but for us.
Well, to follow up on the greedy big billionaires and people with money, I realize you guys are going to be one of 9 votes, but you'll have influence in what happens here in the city. Christ Hospital. What would you like to see happen there? Right now it's closed outside of the ER,
Yeah.
and I believe the city was sold a bill of goods from Hudson Regional Health. Catherine, as an attorney, what do you like to see
I
here?
would love to see, yes, that whole deal is disgusting, corrupt. It happened several years ago, and this is the fallout. And it's so unfortunate. My mother was a nurse at Christ Hospital.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
I had all of my sonograms for my babies at Christ Hospital. So this is near and dear to my heart. I know way too many people who are getting laid off, have been laid off. They violated the WARN Act under federal law, under state law. They're just a mess. So right now, it's the council has proposed, Rich Boggiano has proposed an ordinance to ensure that they don't circumvent the requirement of maintaining a hospital on that space. And we're all going to have to go to the zoning board meeting this Tuesday night to argue that the planning board pass and approve this legislation.
I'm sure that will happen. That'll become hospital use, medical use only for the property.
Correct.
I thought we did something about 8 years ago with that property, but we probably didn't go to a far enough extent. Jake, what would you like to see happen there at Christ Hospital?
Yeah, I've been really involved with the Nurses Union HPAE, Health Professionals and Allied Employees, which has endorsed my campaign to actually start up the petition to make sure that Jersey City does rezone that land so that it doesn't become anything other than acute care facility. Because we know that the threat there is they got a nice view of Manhattan. They're going to try to build luxury condos and high rises there. And we just can't allow this. I mean, over a year ago, or maybe about a year ago, I put out an op-ed kind of warning about this exact deal that's going on and suggesting that eventually we just need a public takeover because private company after private company has failed our community, has failed the workers of this hospital. And we see that statistically, public hospitals as opposed to private hospitals demonstrably provide better benefits and better healthcare service for communities of color, especially low-income communities, communities that rely on Medicaid. This is the kind of community that Christ Hospital has been serving for generations, and so we need to ensure that it stays that way. So absolutely rezone that land, make sure it stays an acute care facility and not just like ridiculous luxury skyscrapers. So yeah, I will be continuing to advocate that alongside the nurses. And we need to make sure in the meantime that we really push and have the nurses and hospital staff that have been laid off, make sure they're getting commensurate jobs at other facilities within the HRH system. And we have a kind of like vague suggestion from HRH, the company that owns Christ, that they're going to try to do that. But just a couple doors down from me, one of the former nurses at Christ Hospital still has not been offered a job, still waiting on some back pay. So this is ridiculous, and our city needs to be proactive in fighting back against this kind of greed.
Yeah, we were sold a bill of goods there. We need to find somebody else to manage that hospital, and probably the other two, Bayonne and Hoboken.
Yeah.
Possibly get the county involved.
And can I ask
with a not-for-profit partnership somewhere along the line.
And can I ask a question here? I'd like to ask Catherine why the McGreevy campaign accepted a $35,000 donation from the landlord that owns Christ Hospital, Alaris Health.
It's my understanding that that donation was given back after this debacle hit the fan. Also, because Governor McGreevy is a working class, middle class person, he just does not have a trust fund. He does not come from a wealthy family at all. He comes from a veteran. His dad was a police officer. So unfortunately, he cannot self-fund his campaigns. He doesn't have a network of millionaires. He's surrounded by other middle class people. In fact, he works in the jail rehabilitating prisoners. So he does have to rely on outside money to
Now, you
run
can
his
ask
campaigns.
the question of Jake, or you can hold it for now.
Excuse me?
You can ask this question of Jake now, or you can use it later. You have a question you want to ask, or you want to hold on?
I'll hold on.
Okay. Garbage contract here in Jersey City. The city is probably going to go out and extend that contract again. Would you like to see the city extend the contract or eventually bring it in-house? Catherine? I already seen you jumping, so I'll
Well,
let you go.
I mean, unfortunately, it's my understanding that the various sanitation businesses have come to their own non-competition clause. This
That's
is what I'm
collusion.
hearing. And that Regional Industries is the only one who's bidding on Jersey City's contract. With that said, we have no choice at this time but to rely on regional industries because they're the only bidder. We just have to hold them accountable at this point, ensure they're doing their job, maybe have somebody from DPW following the truck to issue citations should they litter our streets. And then in the meantime, we can start a pilot program. Why don't we start in Ward D to bring the garbage industry in-house? North Bergen has in-house garbage pickup.
Union City?
Union City has in-house garbage pickup, and they do just fine. So it would be nice to bring it in-house, but we'd have to do it piecemeal.
The group of sanitation companies working together is collusion. That's not legal. Now, I've been involved with this contract a few times. We used to have bidders. For some reason, we don't. We actually have a garbage concern in Jersey City on Route 440 right off Broadway. Somehow we should work some sort of a partnership there. As Brett Schindler put that transfer station on Route 4, we're actually 1 and 9 there by Broadway back in the 90s with a hope of going all in-house. Jake, what do you want to do with the contract? You want to give another $40 million? Because I think it's $18 million to regional and another 18 in tipping fees.
Yeah,
so it's about $40 million a year.
Over the past 5 years, we've paid them nearly $80 million for this garbage contract. And for months and months and months, we've been suggesting exactly this, bringing it in-house to make sure that that can be an accountable service for Jersey City and that we're not paying all of this money from our taxes into a private company that ultimately is doing a bad job and not taking care of
They do
our
an
streets.
atrocious job.
Right, exactly. So for me, this is what we've been saying. So along with making sure we cut street sweeping by half, just to have one day on each side of the streets, actually investing in more spot cleaning of the dirtiest sidewalks throughout the neighborhood, and actually investing money there. Let's take the $77.5 million over the last 5 years we've paid to regional industries and start investing as soon as possible, immediately, into in-house garbage service, expand on the fleet of dump trucks that we already do have, and make sure that we can actually have that accountability and oversight. Because right now, the president of Regional Industries, this private trash company that we contract to, gives money to Jim McGreevy. So for me, that shows that this Team McGreevy cannot be trusted to really hold this company accountable when we need that accountability. We need that transparency. We don't need more of these shady backroom deals where donors are getting favors from our city.
Well, there are plans. There were 2 written up about going private. I wrote one of them, and Pat Stramato wrote up one. We're pretty much similar. They covered drivers, washers, welders, hydraulic mechanic, and where we will put the space. We can do it. It's just you got to want to do it.
Absolutely, and to be clear, this is not a knock against the individual workers of regional industries. They're under incredible pressure to just throw cans around, destroy things, and go, go, go. We need to have like an accountable service that from the top down sets the standard of take pride in your work, take the time that we need to actually make the streets clean.
Well, I'm going to blame the workers. If they missed the back of a 8.5-foot wide garbage truck, there's a problem. All right, affordability in Jersey City.
I'm sorry, Pat.
Go ahead.
May I just respond briefly to the idea
You want to
that
rebut? Go ahead.
we are taking bribes? So just because someone donates to our campaign does not mean we acquiesce to everything they request. That is blatantly false, and we know that because we just had a donor donate to our campaign, and McGreevy wrote a letter objecting to approving his project. So even though this person donated like $10,000, or the company, he still asked the city to object to his project. And then I went in and testified that they do not approve this project because it was egregious and was going to set a bad precedent for other buildings going forward.
Okay.
So we cannot be bought. Just because we accept money does not mean we're going to acquiesce to whatever the donor is asking.
Okay. Affordability.
Can I ask as well?
Go ahead, real quick. Let's try to
Why
get
do you
off
think
this
that?
topic, but go ahead.
Why do you think that donor is giving a $10,000 check to the campaign then?
Because when you're not independently wealthy, you do have to ask others for, they're called campaign fundraisers, and you have to ask other people for donations to run your campaign.
Why is that donor choosing to give money to the campaign? If that donor is not going to see what they're fighting
I
for.
believe he's donated to every campaign, by the way.
Okay.
Who are we alluding to as financially well off here? It's not McGreevy. Is it, we alluding to James Solomon?
Correct.
Okay. You got money? I didn't know that.
Yes.
All right, we done with that topic so we can get to affordability?
Let's talk about affordability.
Jersey City. We have an affordability issue here. And Jersey City's not unique. There's affordability issues everywhere. How do we make Jersey City affordable? We have a budget, I think, of about $740 million. I got a school budget of $1 billion plus, and that's on the backs of the property owners here and the businesses. That's what's causing rents to go high. What would you do, Jake, to cut the expenses in Jersey City? How would you reduce the property taxes? Would you make department cuts? What are you going to do to make Jersey City affordable?
So one of the things that has been draining our budget for years and years and years are these excessive and egregious tax abatements to big corporate developers, where we're not seeing anything like the community givebacks that we deserve in terms of whether it's affordable housing or building open space. We're not seeing anything from these big corporate developers commensurate with what we have been dishing out to them rather. Essentially, property owners are subsidizing developers like the Kushners, and we're not seeing benefits for it. We're not seeing increased services for it. We're not seeing affordability come out of it. It's draining our city budget, and ordinary working class people are suffering. And so we are going to fight back against these excessive and egregious tax abatements for these giant corporations and make sure that we actually prioritize constructing vastly more affordable units while also having social and public housing be our North Star as we move toward that over the next years. Taking more and more abandoned properties, for instance, bring them into scatter site affordable and public housing or even social housing, right? In addition to, that's making sure that we have more homes and more affordability for our property owners, right? In addition, we need to be addressing the 70% of Jersey City who rents, have rent control for every tenant in Jersey City. That's been a hallmark of the campaign as well, and fighting to make sure that we expand on the tenants' right to counsel program, an office that is now established and about to get underway.
Until recently, the Phillip administration didn't issue many abatements. Probably through the course of his 12 years in office, very few abatements were issued. He just recently started that for affordable housing. He would issue the abatement if there was 20% affordable. So I don't know where you're coming up with the preponderance of abatements. There haven't been that many. Catherine, how would you make Jersey
abatements.
City more affordable?
So, you know, everyone thinks that because the property values are high, that this is a benefit to the Jersey City property owner. In fact, that hurts the property owner because we're not flipping properties.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, but I know where you're going. Go ahead.
It's not as if we're flipping the properties. We're there for 30 years, 50 years. So the value of the home is not vital to our existence in Jersey City. Unfortunately, as Jake was saying, we do subsidize these corporate developers. They purchase the properties, they flip it, and they cause the value of the home to go up, which then affects the funding formula down in Trenton.
Now, you're talking about 2-family, 3-family homes on the flip. We're not talking major developments.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And in turn, Trenton says, oh, look, Jersey City, everyone's a millionaire in Jersey City. So this home is worth $1.5 million because that's what it's sold for. Meanwhile, I purchased my home for $500. And now my property taxes have tripled because we're getting so much less money from Trenton for our education, for our Board of
For our
Ed,
schools, yep.
for our school funding. And it's just cyclical. And we have to start putting our residents first. Residents' needs before developers' wants. Right now, the developers get to do whatever they want. And that has to stop immediately. We have to
Okay.
do preservation citywide, make more homes accessible to the middle class, the working class. Like I said last time, we have to bring back that federal legislation that President Clinton brought in to make first-time low-income homeowners. There's a lot we can do.
Oh, I know Trump was talking about a 50-year mortgage. That's a long time, but you can pay it off ahead of time, too. You don't have to wait the 50 years. But
Pat, just to address what you had said before, that there weren't tax abatements for a little while until recently. We also had a reval of assessments that was delayed and delayed and delayed, and so years of tax abatements to these giant companies got, kind of built up, and then finally when the reval hit, all of a sudden homeowners are having to shovel. Right. So we're getting screwed over from that, and we're getting screwed over from recent abatements that are going to, into the 2050s.
I don't think we did a reval for 28 years. I think it was something like that.
Sounds right.
Yeah, something like that.
And then just last year, another abatement to the Kushners, right, for 30 years.
No, it's the Pompidou one you're talking
Correct.
about, right? Do you have a problem with the Pompidou abatement? I spoke in favor of it because I wanted the 100,000 square foot of new construction.
I'm not in favor of funding a Parisian museum that brings no value to Jersey City, that the taxpayer is on the hook for, is it 12 or $13 million a year? We're going to have to pay this French corporation.
That's probably not going to happen.
This is absurd. And then I found out on top of that, that it's not like we were getting Monets, we were getting local Parisian artist artwork in the Pompidou. So why would we pay $13 million in addition to a tax abatement? Instead, make that space open to our local Jersey City artists, our local Hudson County artists. We have tremendous talent here that we need to showcase, and we have no place to showcase that.
It's a nice space when it's done. It's going to be 100,000 square feet of brand new construction. Jake, you got a problem with the Pompidou?
So again, I think this was the totally wrong way to go about it. Museums, amazing, art's amazing. We need to absolutely invest in our local artists here for sure, and really get things like, let's get the museum Jersey City off the ground. Like this is stuff that we can tackle. Like we should be able to do this if we weren't spending all of these resources on abatements for developers who are already making money hand over fist for
Well, we
us.
still have the other Pompidou building, Pathside, the old PS&G building, where I think the city is going to attempt to sell now. That's something we could also utilize. Because the problem with when the city sells property, it just gets sucked into the black hole, and we really never have anything to show for it.
Yeah.
Affordable housing. How do we create it? Now, James Solomon's talking about affordable housing, creating it $1,000 to $1,500 a month. I'm looking forward to seeing him in here Friday with Jim McGreevy. But how would you guys go about it? What would you be in favor of to create affordable housing? How would you pay for it?
So first of all, like vastly expanding, I mean, this is a negotiating problem, for one, right? We're always on the back foot when we negotiate with developers in terms of what we are getting from them for everything that we're giving them. So negotiating for vastly higher standards of affordable housing per development that gets created is one place to start. And we gotta not be nice with developers, quite frankly, if we're gonna actually play hardball and negotiate against them and win more of what we deserve. That's why I don't take money from developers, because if I took money from developers, it would be more difficult for me as an independent voice on city council to actually be able to negotiate for more of what we deserve. So
If you have a developer that didn't take an abatement or zoning or bonding help, would they still be required to have affordable housing?
I think, again, we need to put our goals as like vastly increasing the requirements across the board. And that's going to be a fight to get there. Now, beyond just like the requirements of developers putting like certain numbers of units of affordable housing into new developments, as I said before, getting abandoned properties in Jersey City, there are thousands of units that are vacant. Some of those are just really completely abandoned. Getting those scatter site, public or social housing to make sure that we like expand and expand and expand our affordable stock and our workforce or even
Are there
social
that
housing
many
stock.
abandoned homes in Jersey City? Because I know the one on Passaic Street off Congress.
I mean, you
just-
walk
they
around
just
the
redid it
Heights,
over,
you see
didn't
boarded.
I don't think the property values in Jersey City, I don't know if you could have something sit abandoned. What would you do, Catherine? You want to create affordable housing. How do you pay for it?
So one of the ways you can do it is you can use project-based Section 8 vouchers. So it's my understanding that right now the city has vouchers, but there's no landlords willing to accept it. So rather than have 1,600 vouchers just sitting there, you assign these vouchers to various houses, to various buildings. We could work something like that out.
How would you go about attaching those vouchers to a variable? What would be the criteria to put it on a building?
Well, we would have to work that out, but I'm just saying we should eliminate the current Section 8 process and instead assign it to certain apartments in certain buildings.
You know, in
And-
the old days, we used to make affordable housing, the feds, the state, the county, and the municipality would be what Kerry Woods, Montgomery Gardens, Holland Gardens, Marion Gardens, Duncan Project. They were all affordable.
Yes.
For low income, middle income. For some reason, low income and middle income can't live in high rises. The rich can. The people with money can.
Well, that's exactly
Yeah,
why I'm
I can
saying
put a lot of apartments on the same footprint of a townhouse.
we have to rework the voucher program so that we can get low-income residents into
But
these.
would you put the affordable housing on the backs of private sector?
Depends on, maybe you could set it at like 15 or more units in the building, then you would have to take,
But even if the private sector has no involvement with the municipality, no pilot, no variances, no density.
We would
what
have to
What
explore
would
that.
compel them to create affordable housing?
I mean, if we're in that state of a crisis, we could do that.
And who would get the affordable housing? Jersey City people or people from Brooklyn?
I mean, I think you could make it so that it prioritizes current residents.
I don't know if we
Like-
do that now. I don't think we're prioritizing Jersey City residents with the affordable housing that we have, but that's something that needs to be looked into. I know there's federal housing laws, but somehow we got to shoehorn
Yeah.
in the Jersey City people.
I do know that Hudson County Family Services and Reintegration does have an MOU right now with Jersey City to place homeless senior citizens into housing. So they do get
Well,
prioritized.
senior citizens should get immediate key.
So that's something that just unfolded in the last year.
New construction in Jersey City, in our ward, the Heights, it's like on almost every block. They're cookie cutters, Bayonne boxes, whatever you want to call them. Each one of those houses, when they're built, get a driveway cut. The house they're replacing didn't have a driveway cut. And that impacts everybody's action. Make sure I get parking questions in this debate. That impacts parking in Jersey City. When these houses are built, they immediately get a driveway cut. My house on Congress Street, I can't have a driveway because I can't have a carport. We have a moratorium against that. When you mark the day I remove that oil tank, there'll be a driveway there. Would you be in favor of not permitting those driveway cuts for this new construction? Catherine?
Of no longer permitting
Yeah,
the
don't-
driveways?
You're building a house?
Well,
You
my
knock
se-
down a house with no driveway, no garage, no driveway cut, and you're putting a new house up, then you're putting a driveway cut, and you take a spot right out of the midnight lottery as we ride around looking for places to park.
Yeah, I mean, we have to treat our residents as nicely as we treat these developers. So what's good for one is good for all. The fact that developers, we roll the red carpet out for these developers, and then we walk all over the residents. We shut down the streets. We're breaking their water lines. I met one woman the other day, a single mom, who was displaced for 6 months due to water damage because a developer was putting a Bayonne box in the house next door to her, and
hit
she
the
was
line.
displaced for 6 months. Like,
Would you be in
that has
favor
to
of not
stop.
allowing a driveway in that new development?
Um,
There wasn't one there before. Now they're
oh,
building a
then
new
no,
house.
no.
No, okay.
It's one or the other. You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, 'cause
We can't
they knocked
treat-
down a house without a driveway, and they built a new one where the driveway, and then we lose the spot on the block.
Correct.
And on my block, we keep building new houses, and we're losing a lot of spots on the block. Jake, that's a big issue here in the Heights.
Yeah, and again, I think I talked about this last time. The concern here is that it's privatizing what is like the public parking space of the parking space on the street. But really, we need to think ahead here. We need to look ahead to what gets us out of more permanently and more long-term, what gets us out of the miasma of traffic congestion and parking congestion here. It's actually seriously investing in mass transit to make sure that we are giving more and more people the opportunity to take cars off the road. Not everyone is going to be able in a year, in 3 years, to be able to take their car off the road, but by seriously investing in mass transit and getting organized as a local city, we can actually make sure that we have those buses as alternatives, that we are expanding light rail and pass service as alternatives so people can give up their cars and make more space and room for other people who absolutely do need to park their car on the street.
Well,
right?
we had mass transit here years ago. You may not be old enough to remember it, but the Garfield Avenue bus, Central Avenue bus, Bergen Avenue bus, Montgomery bus, every main street had a bus. We lost all those buses because we don't have jobs in Jersey City, so nobody was taking the bus. Journal Square disappeared, so nobody took the bus to Journal Square. And New Jersey Transit just ran the private operators out. Mass transit usually works if there's a subway. It works in New York City, or it works in the major cities. We don't have a subway. So I'm not sure that's really an answer. We're going to get into V and bus service here. But, Jersey City, especially in the Heights, we're car people. We're all car people in the Heights. Would you be in favor of discontinuing those driveway cuts? on
Yeah,
new
like I
construction?
said,
Okay.
like I said, I think the concern here is that it's
I know that it
privatized.
sounds good, the
Yeah.
mass transit and all, but in reality, we don't have a subway. So all our mass transit would be above
Right, and
ground.
there are other cities that do a really great job prioritizing increased bus service as opposed to just having a subway. Would I love underground train through Jersey City? That would be amazing to have that
We
kind.
should have done that back in the early 1900s when New York was building that. All right, listen, we're going to break for intermission. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Let them check their phones, have a cup of coffee. You're watching the Ward D runoff debate. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Ward D runoff debate. I'm Pat O'Melia. We have both candidates here, Catherine Healy and Jake Epros. Let's get back into it. Universal rent control. I'll let you start on it. I know you're a big proponent of this. Universal rent control.
Yeah,
You're in
so
favor of it, right?
we've been campaigning for this for a very long time in this campaign because we believe that housing is a human right, that we should start from the premise that everyone deserves a roof over their head, a place to sleep at night, and shelter, and that we're all better off when all of our neighbors are actually housed. So universal rent control would make sure that every single tenant has equal protection under the law against egregious rent hikes and getting priced out, because we see people getting priced out over and over and over again in Jersey City. So right now, Code 260 is the rent control law in Jersey City that governs the amounts that landlords are able to raise rent by, right? So it's 4% can be raised, or the cost of living adjustment, whichever is lower. And so under rent control, we would make sure that tenants are protected against hikes above that amount. And we have in Jersey City a serious problem where only a fraction of units are covered under this rent control law. If your dwelling that you live in is 4 units or below, it's exempt. And one of the biggest crimes, in my view, is that we have historically rent-controlled buildings in Jersey City. Old, great buildings with tons of apartments in them. They ought to be under rent control, and they've been converted into condos. In some cases, sold back to the same owner, but in groups of like 4 condo clusters, and all of a sudden they're no longer under rent control. So we need to kill that loophole and make sure that all of those units come back under rent control so that we stop pricing people out of our city.
So you would apply this to the mom and pops, the young couple that just bought a 3-family, they would be under the universal rent control. The people that, lived in their mom's basement for 2 or 3 years, they come up with the $80,000 or $100,000 down payment and are struggling to pay a mortgage, and they bought that 2-3-family home for that additional rent. They would be under that.
70% of Jersey City is renters. We want to make sure everyone is able to afford Jersey City. So whether you are a homeowner or a renter, yes, we are fighting for you so that you can afford Jersey City, and every single unit should have that protection built into it.
I'll agree with you on the condominiums. If you're gonna go condo, go to whole building condo. Don't take 2 units up on the top floor, and then that gets you out of the rent control. I agree with you on
But
that.
these LLCs are doing whatever they want and
Catherine?
getting away with it.
I agree with rent control. I disagree with universal rent control. I think that 5 or more units should be subject to rent control. Under that, should not be subject to rent control unless there's like a corporate conglomerate and it's an international hedge fund like that Australian.
I might even consider a non-occupied building for that, but if the owner's occupied?
Oh, well, the hedge fund is not going to have an
Yeah, that's what I'm
owner-occupied
saying, yeah.
building. So it should not apply to owner-occupied buildings or small business owners.
All right. The way I look at it, I busted my butt to save for that mortgage, pay for that down payment. Don't try to tell me what I should do with my private property.
And knowing many families in the Heights, it would result in displacing a lot of families. They'd have to go into foreclosure.
The Heights rents are that bad. I know downtown it is.
I
But
mean,
up in the Heights it is. You want a good tenant, so you don't want to chase them out. You got a good tenant, you want to keep them there.
Right. I mean, my rent is expensive, right? And like,
What's expensive?
For context, I'm in a 2-bed, right? Me and my girlfriend split it. And our landlord, we have a great relationship with. It's just her. She works for a living, right? It's just her. She owns the building, her mom, and us. She would still be under universal rent control, able to raise our rent to cover increasing costs, but it would still be controlled and capped at a certain amount, right? So that no one is having to deal with the incredible egregious rent hikes that we're seeing across the city. And we want to make sure that again, this is applying to everybody, not just someone who's in a huge building that hasn't been converted into condos, but every single renter.
Well, I know during COVID, the property owners got it over their head there. They had to pay their mortgages, they had to pay their taxes, when the tenants didn't have to pay their rent, or they were getting assistance paying their rent. So that's a tough thing in the Heights, because there's so many property owners, mom and pop, that young couple. It's something to consider, but I don't know about going into the 4 and down. But okay, I appreciate your ideology there. Public Safety Department. Would you reorganize it? Would you disband it? Would you go back to how it used to be, where you had a separate fire, separate police, an autonomous agency for the parking authority? Catherine, what would you do?
Yeah, I would go back. We used to have a phenomenal police department.
No, we still do. I think we still do. I think we still do.
Okay.
You got Bobby Kearns there now, you'll do fine.
Okay, well, we just had an attempted robbery at a hair salon on Palisade Ave. And you hear the burglar breaking into the glass, the woman screaming, she calls 911, you can hear the banging in the background, and it still took Jersey City Police 20 minutes to show up to the scene.
That might have been a 911 problem, because we do have an issue there.
Okay, well, all of that needs to be overhauled. The fact that we didn't have any police cars to respond to that, this is
Well,
beyond.
that's sad. We had no
Yeah.
cars? Okay.
Which is concerning. So, I mean, 20 years ago, somebody would have been suspended for 60 days for that.
So you go back to separate departments then, separate police,
You'd have to go back to separate
separate fire
departments.
department. And you'd be in favor of going back to the parking enforcement, to
Yes.
the authority and
Yes, I did say that
autonomous
last
agency?
time. Yes, we have to bring back the parking authority if we want.
I'd like to bring them back on Central, but that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
I'd
that
like that
space
foot
is already
traffic.
taken.
Jake, what would you do? Public safety?
Yeah, I mean, from the vote of no confidence in the director to what I've heard from folks, it does make sense to bring fire back out as its own department, absolutely. We should also take a look at the budget, right? We have 18 deputy captains in the police department. This is a very top-heavy situation where we have that group collectively making something like over $3 million a year. And a lot of people just aren't experiencing that kind of sense of public safety on the ground. You walk up and down Central Avenue, you see folks who are unhoused in desperate need of support. And to be frank, a lot of people in the community feel intimidated and unsafe just walking around Central Ave and the area for that reason. So public safety, what are the root causes? Root causes of public safety are when people are housed, when people can afford to live in the community. Public safety looks like actually hiring more crossing guards and making sure that they have a great union contract where they're getting real benefits so that our kids are safe going to school. Public safety looks like directing law enforcement not to cooperate with ICE to the maximum extent of the law, because we have had our neighbors taken just at Heights Plaza
I'm
this
asking,
past
you
weekend.
want to disband it, reorganize it?
So
You're
I'm-
going into a long spirit here. Do you want to keep it as it is? Disband it?
So again, I
Go
just
back
said,
to old days?
suggested the reorganization, get fire to be its own department, right? I think that makes sense. I think a lot of folks
I
agree
think I
on
agree
that.
with John. I go back to
yeah.
each department having their own. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. We had to get to the big one here in the Heights. Lack of parking, people. We have a genuine lack of parking. I know we just touched base on it a little bit with the driveways. Vision Zero hasn't helped much. We put those boulder rods on all the corners now. How do you create some parking? Now, what I did back in 2000, I convinced Brett Schundler and Carmine Venezia to buy a house on Congress and Central. And we put up a lot there. We took, I guess, about 16 cars off the street. And it was nirvana. I mean, we could come home. You know, we paid to park. You parked in a lot. But the people, those 16 spots, appeared on Congress Street, opened it. Everything was great. Then they opened the light rail, and that kind of squeezed it a little bit. Now, I'm not talking about making garages. If these abandoned houses you're talking about, if we can just knock one of them down and come up with 10, 12 parking spots, how would you guys go about creating parking? Catherine?
First, we need to do painted allotted parking spots, the same,
Do a Brian stack? Do the painted?
exactly what they do in Union City. We have to do this here.
I don't know if we add or lose spots by doing that. I'd ask Brian.
We would add spots.
You're adding spots?
Because
Okay.
you have monster trucks taking up 3 spots. Now, if you drive a monster truck, you're going to have to rent a spot in a garage because it's not going to fit in the standard compact.
Okay. I'm not against that. No, I agree with the lining of the streets for parking, yeah.
Some people take up 3 spots. I think that would really help. A lot of our intersections are set back a little too far. We can move those up and add a whole parking spot on many of our blocks, the same as they do in Union City. And the parking garage that we were going to build, and then it, I
the
don't know
Burger
what
King
happened.
site?
There was no movement. Yeah, on the Burger King site, it was going to be tiered, paid parking. You know, it's lucrative everywhere else. It's lucrative in Hoboken, North Bergen.
But the problem with that, it was going to be part of the development, and the people that live there can park in the garage. So I don't know how much that was going to help the neighborhood or the shopping district.
Well,
But
it
that's
was
that's a question coming up.
Well, the Central Ave SID is desperate for parking. They're saying
yeah.
that their businesses are hurting because there's no place for their customers to park. So I think this would help small business owners and attract more people to shop on Central Ave.
Let's see what Jake says. Mass transit, Jake, what do you say? How do we create parking in the Heights?
Yeah, so again, I think the long-term vision here is we need to be able to have options so we can take cars off the road, because we're a growing city, there's only so much street. I don't believe that we should just have a plan of knocking down more and more places that could house people and instead putting lot after lot after lot. Now, if we want to talk about some specific instances of parking decks, parking places, the Burger King lot always gets brought up.
Yeah, but the Burger King lot's not helping that person on Bleecker Street.
Well, I was just going to say
yeah,
exactly the
that's the
same
problem.
thing. Out on the slopes, you know, if you're on
Slope.
Western or something, like, how is that helping you? What we need to do is make sure that we are investing seriously in that mass transit. And I totally agree. Let's have the delineated parking spaces with the lines. Let's also cut street sweeping by half so people have to worry about moving their car as often when we're not really seeing the cleaning benefits, cleanliness benefits of that 4 days a week street sweeping to alleviate some of that stress as well. But ultimately, like, we are not going to get to where we need to be if we are a growing city if we don't also seriously invest in that mass transit and just keep trying to figure out how to stack more cars on top of one another.
Let me give you a mass transit question here. Via Transport, those little pink vans.
Yep.
The city subsidizes them to the tune of about $7 million a year. Is that worth continuing to subsidize them, or should we use that money for something like what the Hoboken has with the loop bus that runs around Hoboken, or actually just get into a bigger bus throughout the city? There's probably other ways we can fund it. Or do we continue to have the little pink vehicles run around with $7-8 million subsidy?
Yeah, I've used them. They can be convenient, but it does cost the city quite amount per rider. It's a significant chunk of money that we should be investing into, like, a real mass transit system, as opposed to a private company that is, you know, just getting all this money from our city.
Well, you know,
over
New
and over
Jersey
again.
Transit is subsidized up to 76% by taxpayers.
And now
And
finally,
the ferries also.
now finally has a corporate transit fee where the biggest businesses in the state of New Jersey are finally permanently paying into NJ Transit. So I think that's an angle that we need to continue to push, to continue to make sure it gets that permanent funding.
I know, I jumped up there with NJ.
Sure,
So
sure.
you'd continue with Via, or you want to try to come up with something else?
I think it would be great to phase it out and actually have that money go to something more permanent in terms of public mass transit.
Even if we get the bigger shuttle buses or something that just runs, well, again, we got to consider the whole, we're Heights people,
Yeah.
but the whole city, where there's something that can be done between the county and the municipalities.
I was going to say, you know, one issue with just having something that goes within the city is people travel between towns in New Jersey quite often, and so having an inter-county system, obviously interstate, is like the best because it allows the most flexibility, but not having to just stop at the border is really important there.
Catherine?
Via, so our seniors on the Western Slope, they really have no access to public transportation down there. So we need to come up with something to serve our seniors, especially those who are on the slope.
Well, escalators could help getting them up them hills down there. Jeez.
Well, maybe.
The sidewalk with steps, it's incredible, yeah.
I mean, Via, yeah, we have to phase it out. Maybe bring back those senior buses that we used to have that would pick up the seniors and bring them shopping or bring them to various events throughout the week.
I think county still has Transcend.
The county does, but the city no longer has those shuttle buses for the
Well, you
seniors.
know, we got a $740 million budget. You think we could put some buses in there
Agreed.
for the seniors?
And NJ Transit has Access-a-Ride, which, you know, folks with disabilities or seniors can call to get that kind of support. But I've seen NJ Transit Access-a-Ride just completely miss someone who is waiting for them on the sidewalk.
New Jersey Transit. Yeah,
So
that's something we can't handle as Jersey City, but
we
they
have seen in the
absolutely
past when our local advocates fight for better transit, we can win. Like the win that we just got from the PATH, they said it couldn't happen. Local advocates fought for it, and now we're seeing improvements over the next years in PATH service. So local advocates are doing this work, and it's time that our city get organized through a municipal transit council to make sure we continue doing that work, get NJ Transit, get the Port Authority to give us more of the services we deserve.
Here's another transit. E-bike enforcement, particularly on Central Avenue. What would you do? Because it's like a ninja training when I drive down Central Avenue. I'm dodging those e-bikes. It's not even the bicycles anymore. They're all the e-bikes. What do we do to corral in those e-bikes?
Yeah.
That's out of hand. Catherine?
We have to treat the e-bikes the same way we treat vehicles because they're subject to the same Title 39 laws.
Well, they get around it for some reason because they're 30 miles
Well, we have
down
had
and they're
zero.
electric.
We've had zero enforcement across the board. That needs to change.
Yeah, they plates and insurance. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Who would Who would enforce it? JCPD? The
Yes.
parking
Well,
enforcement?
unfortunately, I believe we discussed this last time we were here. Jersey City is not able to hire any more police. They had budgeted to hire, I believe, 2,000 more police officers, and they were only able to hire 8. Nobody wants to be a police officer. The fireman list,
it's
however, there's a waiting list of, I want to say, 1,000 candidates to be firemen in Jersey City.
Well, it's a cool job being a fireman. I'm a son of a Jersey City firefighter.
Nobody wants to be a police officer.
What if we bring back the NIDS, Neighborhood Enforcement?
Well, similar to that, you could bring in the, what are they? The auxiliary police officers, and there's grant funding for that.
We had them when I was a kid, auxiliary police officers, yeah.
Well, because we can't hire police, we can resort to auxiliary police officers, get grant funding for that, so it won't affect the taxpayer to do our street enforcement.
Would you bring back the motorcycle police?
It's my understanding that the motorcycles are very expensive to maintain, and we just cannot
And also those
afford.
guys, I know a lot of them, they all had a weird mindset.
That
Yeah,
too,
yeah, yeah.
that too. But the bicycle police, I think the bicycle police force, they were very effective. We need to bring them
I
back.
forgot, we did have the cops on bikes there for a while
Yeah,
there.
and it was effective.
Jake, what are you doing about these e-bikes?
So the
you
e-bikes-
see them, so you
Yeah,
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course they're everywhere. We got to crack down on the companies, especially to make sure they're providing adequate safety training and worker training to the workers. I mean, these gig workers are in incredibly precarious conditions
They don't
and
get any training.
circumstances. So we got to make sure that, Uber Eats, Grubhub, whatever, Wiz or whatever else, we're cracking down on these companies to make sure that they are actually providing that safety training both for the workers and for the entire community. And having the street infrastructure that actually encourages over time them to be in the right lane, to treat themselves as either a vehicle if they're like a true vehicle or a bicycle, like if they're a true bicycle, right? We need to make sure we have that infrastructure in place and we're holding the companies to account. I'll also say we're seeing this influx of the little robots coming into the Heights now.
The last month or so I've been seeing them, yep.
We're seeing the Uber Eats robots, and I mean, why have we just entered into this contract? What are we getting as a city from entering into this contract with Uber Eats? Are we getting data that they're collecting about our streets? Because that data can be really useful in terms of making improvements. Are we taxing them? Are we actually getting money from them using the public good of our sidewalks, sometimes getting in the way of people who themselves are on like a scooter that they need to use for
Somebody's going to have
accessibility?
to find out if you're the council person.
Well, I'll say they're not. We're not getting this kind
We're
of.
not getting money?
We're not getting that for them using our public sidewalks and things. We're not getting what we deserve from them, and we also should be fighting for data from them.
Bike lanes. You in favor of bike lanes? Here's my problem. Montgomery Avenue, Manhattan Avenue. That was the most ridiculous bike lane proposal I've ever seen, where we would make Manhattan Avenue a one-way going west, where Manhattan Avenue would go into another bike lane in front of the Stop and Shop. So we cut out all the turning radius for a straight job or a fire truck or a tractor trailer. And then we had Franklin Street, one-way going east to accommodate bike lanes. Are you in favor of that bike lane setup?
Not in favor of that bike lane setup, but I am in favor of bike lanes that do not disrupt the
Parking
the
and traffic
landscape.
and all?
Yeah. Like, for instance, the bike lane on Charles Street, it fits in very nicely. The bike lane on Bowers fits in very nicely.
They don't use the bike lanes, but it fits in there. Yes, I'll give you that.
Well, one day when I am able to use them, when my kids are grown, I do look forward to that.
How
And
about on Palisades Avenue? You in favor of the bike lane on Palisades?
it's too narrow.
Yeah.
But we do need a north to south, east to west corridor. And I know this sounds crazy, but we can do this. We can do elevated bike and pedestrian lanes the same way they have in Europe and Asia, and build it over Summit Ave and build it over Newark Ave.
What do you want to bring the trolleys back again?
Well, no, the trolleys are
There was one
cost-
by your house back in the
Trolleys
old
are
days.
cost prohibitive, but this, we can do this. If we can do that absurd turnpike expansion, I mean, the fact that we got
we should
close
not do.
to the, no, I agree. We should not do the turnpike expansion at all. But the fact that we got that close to this billion-dollar project, if we can do that, we can do this.
All right. Jake?
So yeah,
What are these
safe
bike
street.
lanes? You're a bike lane guy?
Yeah, so I bike to work largely because it's just the practical thing to do. This morning I took the bus because the weather was absolutely horrendous, but I normally bike whenever I can because it's way faster than waiting for the bus or sitting through traffic in my car. And I want safer streets, like the community demands safer streets, and bike infrastructure is part of that. One of the reasons that some of these sections get critiqued for, oh, no one's even using this. It might be a standalone section that's not connected to any other safe bike infrastructure, so people aren't able to just like go from a totally unsafe area to finally having one little strip that's safe. Now, the more we can build out, the better, so that we can have like comprehensive north, south, and east-west bike infrastructure. Again, this gives an alternative for people using their car. I can not use my car and sit in traffic and create more traffic because I can bike to work instead. The more of that we allow from more of our neighbors, the more cars we can take off the road, the more congestion we
You
can
just gave me
reduce.
one of my arguments against bike lanes. Bikes aren't a 24/7, 365 mode of transportation. Like this morning, it said it was raining, so you got on a bus. Well, if it's snowing, you're going to get on a bus. There's ice on the road, you're going to get on a bus. If, again, raining or it's hot as hell out there, you don't want to go pedaling into work unless you got a shower there.
And some people use them 24/7. Some people use them no matter what.
Oh, there's some nuts
365.
out there in parkas
Yeah.
in 0 degrees. Yeah, I've seen them out there.
And so we give those options and make sure that more and more people can take those options because, one, they've been proven to actually be increasing safety for the community, right, and making our streets safer. And two, when we talk about small businesses and the interests of local businesses, when we have really good bike infrastructure, it actually increases benefits for local businesses as well. There's some really good research out there that demonstrates like this is just good for the community.
Well, I'm anti-bike lanes. But talking about
I can tell,
Manhattan Avenue, we have a huge traffic problem on Manhattan Avenue going down to Tunley. It's backing up on the Kennedy Boulevard all the time. It's the problem with people trying to make a left-hand turn onto Tunley Avenue off Manhattan, and they block up everybody trying to make a right-hand onto Tunley. And that traffic backs all the way up. And to get around it, as I'm a Heights guy, I'll go down Carlton. But it isn't fair to the people who live on Carlton Avenue to pick up all that traffic because we have no type of enforcement now by the white manor there that's tying up everything on Manhattan Avenue. What would you do to alleviate that traffic problem? And it is a big bottleneck in the Heights.
Yeah, I'm acutely aware of this traffic issue. I did reach out to Senator McCurgy to see if we could get a left-hand turn signal to alleviate some of that traffic. He is looking into it, and I will follow up with him about that.
Is Manhattan a county road?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Maybe we could talk to the county, talk to Craig Guy there. I don't want to lose any parking on Manhattan Avenue, but it becomes a huge problem. When I'm trying to get down to Tunley, especially if I'm leaving one of the neighborhood meetings and I'm going down Manhattan Avenue, yeah, I'll go down Carlton. I'm looking at all the traffic on Carlton Avenue. It's not fair to these people. So, Jake, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean,
Get them on bikes? Go ahead.
yeah, listen, like if you're trying to get like down to West Side to Lincoln Park, you might go down that way, or go down the boulevard, or go down Tunley even. When I was working with nurses over in Belleville, I was going that way down Manhattan or Carlton all the time to get to the hospital where I was helping nurses organize their union, right? So I also know that traffic pattern quite well and how dismal it can be. So this is just once again an argument for a future where we have mass transit prioritized. And look, in the interim, let's get like the left turn signal. Like this is simple stuff. It should be simple stuff where we can get people going a lot snappier instead of having that bottleneck there. But if we are a growing city and we continue to rely on single passenger vehicles, we're going to be stuck in traffic for the rest of our lives. And that's not a future of Jersey City that I want to see. That's not a future that anyone I talk to on the doors wants to see.
I know the county's looking into a bus lane on the boulevard. They're doing a study. So you guys in favor of that?
Absolutely, rapid bus
Yes.
transit would be
No, I'm
great.
not. Okay. I'm not.
If you want to move
I've been
more,
riding up and down that boulevard for the last
But again,
55 years.
you need enforcement to ensure that those bus stops are open.
Well, the problem is you're either going to lose parking on the boulevard or you're going to lose a lane of traffic. It's what's your choice. You want traffic or no parking? And the people up there, they're not gonna go
Everybody's
for that.
double parked. It's like Kennedy Boulevard's down to one lane because.
Let's try to wrap this up now. Central Avenue. How can we help Central Avenue? How can we recruit businesses at Central Avenue? Got a lot of empty storefronts. And how do we get it clean? I can tell you where every restaurant is on Central Avenue just by looking at the sidewalk, because there's huge oil patches out there. How do we attract good name brand businesses to Central Avenue, and how do we get the businesses there to clean up after themselves?
Well, I'm happy to.
Oh, yeah, Jake, I
or
was looking at
Catherine,
Catherine.
if you want to go for.
Go ahead, Kat. Go ahead.
So you need better planning. We have no planning and zoning regarding the businesses on Central Ave. I think if we limited it to like $1 store per block, or one hardware store every 3 blocks.
Maybe
or
one weed store
one
every block?
dispensary every 3 blocks, it would be more organized and enticing to private businesses to come in.
You look
Also-
at Brian Stack in Union City. He's got name businesses there. On
But he
Bergen
also
Line.
has parking.
Yes, he does. You know, Little North Bergen has more parking than Jersey City, municipal parking lots. Jake, what would you do on Central to attract some businesses and clean it the hell up?
Yeah, so again, with cleanliness, again, we need to crack down on regional industries. Now, regional is residential trash and recycling, and so the contract for businesses is different, but this has to be cracked down on. And again, converting some of the money that we've been spending on, let's say, street sweepers, putting that into more spot cleaning. Also, getting serious about, like, if you own a building and your property is consistently disgusting outside of it, like, you need to get fined. Like, you need to actually pay into our city
Oh,
budget.
we used to do that with the NIDS. The NIDS would write the tickets. I don't know what happened to NID, but we lost them. But
so
no, I agree with you there.
We need people going up and down to make sure. In addition, again, there are some things that are really great for local businesses. Bike lanes, again, have been demonstrably beneficial for increasing the traffic that local businesses can get. Having more walkable and more walkable areas, having safer and safer streets so that people feel good and comfortable walking up and down Central Ave. Having a pedestrian plaza, maybe not taking up the space of Central Ave, but maybe off to the side. Like, these are all experiments that we can start moving with to make sure that we have kind of revitalization of this like main corridor. And now our campaign office is right on Central Avenue and Sherman Place. So we're just up from Pershing Field, just up from the Stop and Shop, and people are walking up and down Central Ave all the time, coming into the office. And quite frankly, as I mentioned before, we have folks who are unhoused, who are in desperate need of support and services. They come into the office because they see that it's open, people are inviting, and we try and give them as much support as possible. And I'm very grateful we've been able to set up some folks with some temporary housing, one who is already unhoused, one who is about to become unhoused, but there's more and more people.
All right.
So we need to make sure that we have, in addition, caseworkers.
Before we
social
go to
workers
closing
walking-
statements, each one of you guys ask a question of the other. There's something in the back of your mind you want to ask. Now is the time.
Okay. Jake, how do you propose funding your initiatives?
So universal rent control wouldn't need to be funded by another part of the city budget because it's changing Municipal Code 260. So that would actually just be a change in the municipal code. Universal universal child care, we need to attack both at the city level and at the state level. At the state level, we need to be pushing for increasing through state legislation child care coverage from 200% of the poverty line to that 300% of the poverty line, and bring more and more folks in addition to really getting serious about the payroll tax that businesses, especially the biggest ones, continue to escape in Jersey City, and make sure they're paying in to our city budget and our city schools, so that through the city schools, we can continue to expand our almost universal pre-K program into universal child care as well. Safe, clean, green streets. I'm happy to keep going.
What
We
about
can-
the grocery stores? How do you plan on funding the grocery stores?
Yeah, so this is going to be a long-term project that we should start, whether it's bonding for, setting aside money for. That is going to be a long-term project. I don't pretend that we're going to be able to open up one in each ward, municipal grocery stores overnight. But what we're doing is naming the crisis, which is the affordability crisis, and we're naming the kinds of solutions that we deserve, like having groceries that are actually affordable for working class people and addressing the food deserts throughout our city. And so in the Heights, if you are not near the Supremo or the Stop and Shop, you don't have a real grocery store, right?
We got that Gabriel's down by Washington Park. That's a nice little store.
If you are, west of, let's say, Summit, and you're in the slopes, like there's not that real supermarket that's for you, and we need to make sure that we name everything that we deserve, including grocery stores that are run not just to make a bunch of profit, but to actually feed people, and that we work toward it by starting the plan.
I just jump in my car and go to Hoboken ShopRite. You can't do that with a bike. But some people use Instacart.
I bike in Hoboken.
I will say on the slopes, it seems like the folks there enjoy that suburban lifestyle.
Oh, yes, they do.
They enjoy their cars and driving, and a lot of driveways on the slopes. It feels very suburban.
Yeah, I mean, I've knocked thousands of doors throughout the Heights, including spending a lot of time knocking on the slopes and building those relationships. And we want to make sure that they have the same benefits from, we have renters on the slopes. We can't discount the fact that we have renters in addition to the homeowners on the slopes. We want to make things affordable for everyone, homeowners and renters on the slopes. We want to make sure that their streets are safe. We have had traffic crashes and deaths that were completely preventable if we had safer infrastructure out on the slopes. Like, they deserve all of that too.
The slope people like it the way it is down there. They like it. They want to change the direction of the streets at all. Jake, you got a question for Catherine?
I do. So one of the things that is plaguing our city right now is just, we see ICE coming into Jersey City. We just saw an arrest of day laborers at Heights Plaza. We've seen families literally ripped apart in our neighborhood. And I want to know, again, especially because we have MAGA Trump billionaires backing the Team McGreevy ticket with a lot of incredibly big donations, what is your plan for standing up to ICE, and how can we trust that you'll be accountable to that plan and not just to the Trump mega donors that are funding Team McGreevy?
Okay, so a few things. I don't know of MAGA people donating to the McGreevy campaign. I do understand that Kushner, who donates to everybody's campaign because he does business in Jersey City, donates to everybody's campaign in Jersey City.
Not my campaign.
Well, not to the independently wealthy or those who already have funding.
Well, Charlie's always been involved in the city, Charlie Kushner. Yeah,
he's always been involved in New Jersey politics. And number two, I understand that the campaign is getting labeled as MAGA Republicans because of some Republican from South Jersey who McGreevy was friends with 20 years ago, who donated to Donald Trump and then also donated to McGreevy. So we are not MAGA Republicans. There's nothing Republican about our ticket. We're old school Democrats. And the fact that we're getting labeled as MAGA Republicans is totally unfair. The ICE issue. The ICE issue is very concerning. It is my understanding, though, that I know of one ICE sweep. It wasn't ICE. It was another federal agency who works closely with ICE, who came to St. Paul's Ave and arrested a father who was driving his daughter to school. And it was very upsetting to watch. And then it turned out that he had been involved in a domestic violence incident. He beat the mother with a weapon, and he had been released from the county jail. And then that's when the feds picked him up. So so those are very separate situations from other innocent, undocumented immigrants who are here working, law-abiding, and they get picked up. That is very concerning. How do you deal with that? Well, you work around it. How do you work around it? Like, when I was a prosecutor, and President Obama started enforcing our border laws, and we as a country started picking up indictable felons, convicted felons, and deporting them. So rather than fight in court, because we have no leg to stand on, as a prosecutor, I would agree to the defense attorney to withdraw the plea, and then we would replea that deportable immigrant to a non-deportable offense so that he could stay in this country because his family's here and it was not that egregious of an offense. So there are ways to work around ICE, and we just have to do that. And
Well, change the laws. If you want to deal with
well,
immigration, change
that's
the
federal
laws.
laws.
That's it.
We have to change the federal laws.
Right now, we got to enforce the laws, but change it. You talk to your congressman, talk to your senators, get a bill going there.
But
All
in
right,
the-
you ready
But
for closing statements?
But also, if I can say, like, direct law enforcement in Jersey City not to cooperate with ICE to the maximum extent possible in the law, direct all our city offices to not cooperate with ICE to the maximum extent possible in the law, and actually be on the ground organizing. Like before I was a candidate, I was organizing around immigration justice to shut down the ICE jail in Hudson County. I've been part of this movement and grateful to get to like follow the lead of amazing activists who are fighting to like build the kind of organizing infrastructure. So that looks like the ICE Watch in our neighborhoods. That looks like community organizations who are doing rapid response to show up when we get reports of ICE in the neighborhoods. And I would make sure that we continue that kind of work with the power of our city government supporting it.
All
So
right.
I
Kat.
will say that on the incident on St. Paul's Ave, the police did not call ICE. It was, it's the fingerprinting system that the feds also have access to. So when the sheriff's office fingerprints that defendant, ICE is immediately notified. It's not like Jersey City calls up and says, come get this guy. So they're already on notice due to the shared fingerprint system. Regarding the Hudson County Jail, I just want to say, as a defense attorney, because I do defense work now, you know, our ICE detainees who are fluent in Urdu, Tagalog, Hindi, Gujarati, we didn't release them back to their homes. Instead, we took them out of Hudson County and put them into a jail in Oklahoma where nobody speaks their language, where they have very conservative federal judges. We separated them from their families. The corrections officers don't speak their native tongue either. While in Hudson County, they were getting special food. They had their native tongue being spoken in various dialects of Spanish.
Yeah.
And they have attorneys who can also speak their language. So I totally respect the movement, and it's very honorable. But society has to look at the ripple effects. What is the effect on this man's family when he gets shipped out to Oklahoma and the children can't visit him every Saturday and Sunday?
And to be clear, we were also following the lead of folks on the inside of the Hudson County Detention Center. We were following the lead of folks who were on hunger strike, immigrants in detention who are on hunger strike in that center. And you know, now we see a new facility, a new ICE jail cropped up in Newark, and we're seeing increasing arrests again. So just because we don't, the idea that we have to keep ICE jails close by so that people can stay in detention close by their home, what we're seeing is as ICE jails are increasingly present, ICE arrests are increasingly present too.
Well, who the hell wants to go to Oklahoma? All right, let's have some closing statements. Do you want to go first, Jake?
Sure. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm really grateful for this position, having made the runoff election with thousands of voters casting their ballot saying, yes, we want a Jersey City that works for working class people. Not one bought and sold by corporate billionaires, but one where working class people are in power. I'm really proudly part of a broad coalition that is going to make that happen, right? So I'm a Democratic Socialist with DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, also with Working Families Party, and labor unions like 1199, SEIU, HPAE, which represents nurses at Christ Hospital, other progressive organizations and parts of the labor movement that are coming together around a vision where we can make Jersey City affordable for working class people and actually place responsibility and blame on the people who are causing the crisis of affordability and failing to meet the needs of our quality of life. It concerns me that I've heard even just this week that my opponent would say that the renter community is dangerous, blaming renters for getting priced out, that we've heard that pedestrians are responsible ultimately for cars blowing through red lights. We need to actually hold the people responsible for the quality of life and affordability crises responsible and not just point the finger. This campaign has a vision of actually winning more of what we deserve by building that movement, holding to account who we need to hold to account, and having Jersey City work for working class people. So please, my ballot position is 1C, vote on December 2nd or vote by mail before December 2nd. I hope I can earn your support and represent you as your next council person.
Kat?
Thank you. I'm here not for some outside group, some outside initiative. I'm here because I want to make the Heights a better place for my children, a better place for my siblings, a better place for my nieces and nephews, a better place for my parents who are now aging senior citizens. And because I'm so invested in the community, I'm going to do what's right. My children walk the streets, so street safety is everything to me. I would never blame a pedestrian for a car going through a red light. And some other absurd accusation that it's the tenants who are increasing the rent. I never said that. I said it's these international hedge funds and major corporations who are permitted to purchase housing, and that is what is causing this to go through the roof, in addition to developers flipping properties. That is, those are the problems. So how we balance out the Heights and make sure that the have-nots receive what the haves have, I already spoke to Councilor Cynthia Hagianis about this, and we can do it. We are going to hold the absentee slumlords accountable. We are going to take local small business owners. We are going to have them remediate the property. Obviously, we'll let the absentee slumlord know that they need to fix the property. Then when they don't respond for a month, we remediate that low-income tenant's property for them. We give that business to the local business owner, a local contractor, a local plumber, a local roofer, and then we place the lien on that property. That slumlord cannot sell that property until they pay that bill. And that is how we get equality in Jersey City. And that's how we get back at these absentee corporate slumlords. Safe streets. Safe streets is everything. I'm very uncomfortable with my children walking the streets because folks are driving like maniacs. How do we do that? We can lower the speed limit to 20 miles per hour. We can install more of those pedestrian yield signs that blink. So as soon as you approach the intersection, you press the button, and I've noticed that the cars do stop once they see that blinking pedestrian sign. We need more speed bumps. We also need a grants department in Jersey City. Our taxes have gone through the roof. We cannot raise taxes any further. My property taxes tripled. And it's driving a lot of families out of Jersey City, in addition to the chaos of our streets. We've let these developers take over our streets. They shut down whatever street they want to whenever they're doing a project. And it's not, we don't use our civil engineers anymore. So traffic is backed up. You can't take a right-hand turn for 6 blocks because the city has failed to use their civil engineers. I mean, it's just in a state of chaos, and I'm coming in to fix all of that. We're gonna fix our parks, Mosquito Park. We're gonna bring our kids back, their sledding hill. We're gonna bring that back. We are going to install a splash park for the children at Mosquito Park. That was never installed. We are going to renovate those beautiful historic bathrooms of Leonard Gordon Park. We need to install clean drinking water to cut back on our plastic bottles. We have a terrible addiction to plastics. Now, not only is it horrible for the environment, but now we are learning it's poisonous to the human body.
As I drink out of my styrofoam cup.
So we need clean drinking water and so much more.
And
So much
Mosquito
more.
Park. Why didn't they do the buffalo and the bear?
Great
What
question.
the hell happened there?
I don't think they did
The main
not.
entrance. They
The
busted them
city
with a
doesn't
dead
have a
tree.
grants department, so they didn't have money to do it.
Oh, okay. All right, we're done. All right, you've heard both of the candidates for Ward D. You've heard their platform, what their ideas are, what their initiatives would be. Hopefully, we have allowed you to make an informed vote on December the 2nd. Remember, you do have vote by mail. There is no early voting. You'll have to go to the polling station. Make sure you vote. One of these two deserve your vote. I'm Pat O'Melia. Thank you for watching.